What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, yesterday we did have that state of play from Sony that had a bunch of different games in there, including one trailer that was absolutely ridiculous from Hideo Kojima himself. And we're going to go over all of the announcements here today. Also, we are going to be talking about more layoffs in the gaming industry, some with more studios and publishers and others in games media itself. And then we're also going to be heading back to Palworld as they had some major announcements to make, which also included Xbox numbers and even Microsoft getting a bit more involved. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with PlayStation Plus Essentials for the month of February, which we already know one game that's in there, but we have a couple others to look at. We can see this posted up over on PlayStation blog. Nice little card at the top showing them all. And we have Foam Stars, that's PS5 and PS4, of course, Roller Drone, PS4 and PS5, and then Steel Rising on the PS5. Now, these will all go live Tuesday, February 6th, and will be available to claim until Monday, March 4th. So, as I always say, you might as well at least add these to your library if you are paying for minimum PlayStation Plus Essentials. And that also means that you want to go in and claim the current titles that are there, as you'll have, as they show here, until February 6th, when these will slide in and replace those. The big one here, clearly, is Foam Stars, and I think this is good for both parties. Sony, of course, looking to have a day one release in the service, and Square Enix obviously looking to have people just try the game out, as it is a live service multiplayer focused game that just needs people playing it. And the best way to really do that, to get them to play it, is just add it into a subscription service where you, for the most part, lower that barrier of entry completely. So at that point, it's like, you might as well try it out. And in fact, I will at least give Foam Stars a shot. If anything's because I have PlayStation Plus Essentials, so might as well claim it and try it out. Also, it is currently 2024, and we have a new guitar to take a look at. Yeah, a full-on controller from PDP called the Riff Master. IGN posted up an article as well as images of the accessory you can see here. And this, coming from PDP, is going to be matching up with Rockband 4 as well as Fortnite. As we know, they have basically their own Rock Band or Guitar Hero equivalent in the game. And there's a couple of interesting facets to this. One, it does have a thumbstick behind the guitar, an ambidextrous design, a 3.5mm audio jack, and apparently 36 hours on a single charge for the battery. That's pretty good. And in order to disassemble it, you don't actually take the neck of the guitar off and it becomes two pieces. It technically folds, so it all stays together and you can store it much easier. Interesting stuff here with this one. I mean, I wasn't expecting necessarily a new guitar accessory just pop up out of nowhere. Still waiting on pricing and release date for it. But hey, if you've been looking for a new guitar, whether it's for Rock Band or to use with Fortnite, you should be seeing a new one this year from PDP with some pretty good features. Oh, and it does look like we had a bit of a tease for what could be a new Burnout game. Take a look at this message over on X. This is from Stellar Entertainment, saying our way of giving you insider intel about what we're working on without actually telling you what we're working on. And the bosses still haven't issued any takedowns. Happy days. Interesting. Okay, no takedowns there. Well, if you're unaware, we have Stellar Entertainment, who's worked on a couple of familiar games. I don't know, Need for Speed Unbound, Need for Speed Remastered, and oh yeah, Burnout Paradise Remastered. So now people are wondering, okay, takedowns, are they doing a new Burnout game? Are they remastering an older one? It's been a while since we had Burnout Paradise specifically. We had the remaster a couple of years ago, but Paradise is from 2008. I think it'd be really cool to see what a new Burnout game could look like currently, but I guess it's also possible, based on what they've done so far, that it could be a remaster of like Burnout 3 or something. But either way, I'd be excited to see more Burnout, or just any Burnout game now, since it's been 15 years since we had the last one. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sony and their state of play that did last about 40 minutes or so. And during those 40 minutes, they did show off 15 plus games. Technically, it was about 16, depending on if you want to count a certain one that closed things out for them. But we'll start from the top here with Helldivers 2. This is still February 8th, so we're not too far off, like a week or so. This is a game that they have been showing over and over again, but I feel like it could stand to have a demo of some kind. I mean, it's not priced full, like it's like $50, right? But this is one that I think could have stood to go into PlayStation Plus, similar to what we're seeing from Foam Stars, but maybe into the premium tier. I see this game coming out having little fanfare around it or interest, and then it just kind of fading away. But we'll see. I'm at least going to try it out myself when it releases in about a week. Then we had Stellar Blade, and we had a pretty good look at this one. It's post-apocalyptic Earth. The main character is named Eve. You can upgrade your equipment. They do mention Zion is a city where all the survivors are, and I immediately thought of like the Matrix just kind of flashed in my mind then. They showed a full skill tree. It's sort of, looking at the combat, which we did see flashes of it here and there, kind of reminiscent of Devil May Cry, maybe mixed with a bit of Nier Automata in there. And the big surprise, April 26th. So this is a game that they held on to for so long that when they were ready to show it, it's out in 3 months. So I do like that. It's much better than, oh yeah, we'll see in a year or two after showing this off, because I actually think it looked pretty good. Then we had, as expected, Sonic X Shadow, or Sonic Cross Shadow Generations. That is autumn 2024. Still need to see a bit more information about newer content and stuff in there because, as expected, yes, Shadow appears to be a pretty big part of this release. Then we had Zenless Zone Zero. It's from Hoyoverse. I feel like we've seen this before. They just mentioned, hey, it's now in development for PS5, and then that was kind of it. Foam Stars made an appearance, if anything, just to give one final push as we head towards its PlayStation Plus inclusion in a week. Then we had Dave the Diver. That is coming to the PS5. Big time indie release here, and that is in April. And it was a fun surprise, even though, again, I haven't really played Dave the Diver or anything like that, but it was fun to see Godzilla rise up out of the ocean. Apparently there's going to be a crossover with Godzilla in the game in May. So pretty cool stuff. Then they showed off V Rising. This is 2024. Silent Hill: The Short Message. It's first person. Immediately started thinking of PT as they were showing it off. Had kind of that hallway vibe where it looked like they were trying to do some jump scares and more creepy stuff in the game. But the full game, it's free. And it's out now, so you can just go download it. I started downloading it for recording, and it was about 12 gigabytes or so. And hey, I'll check it out. I don't think it's going to be a lengthy experience or anything, but it's free, so there you go. Silent Hill 2 was also shown off, and I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's Silent Hill 2. You're playing off good source material here. I'm still iffy on Bloober Team with this one, but no release date. A little surprised on that one. They just said in development for PlayStation 5. It's supposed to be coming out this year, so I figured they would want to drop a release date, but maybe they'll do that in a press release or at a big PlayStation showcase here in a few months. Then we had Judas, and this is from the creator of BioShock. It looks very out there and trippy. It's guns, and then we saw some supernatural magic elements to it. Again, playing kind of into what we saw with BioShock. Also now in development for PS5. However, Take-Two already mentioned with investors in a filing that they were expecting it to be out by March 2025. So that's kind of where I'm envisioning to come out, maybe in the first quarter of next year. Metro Awakening VR, which I did say we need some PSVR 2 games just to help sell the hardware, or just at least give some confidence to early adopters for this headset that wasn't cheap. But this is a game that's coming out in 2024, so this year, and it looks like it's at least interesting enough for Metro fans. They did show, of course, the climbing elements that you would expect in a VR title, but then also at times looking just like Metro in VR, so pretty cool stuff there. Legendary Tales, I'm a little confused on this one. It didn't look particularly good, like visually. I guess they were showing off sword fighting and that sort of thing, and that looked at least fairly interactive. That's coming out next week, February 8th. Dragon's Dogma 2 made another appearance here, March 22nd. Already sold on this one. I think it looks awesome. And then we segued into Rise of the Ronin. They once again mentioned it's an open world action RPG. You have a grappling hook that then translated into a glider that then when landing turned into a horse, or at least you're called your horse and you landed on it. So it seems like it's a pretty fast-paced game. I kind of looked at it as maybe a more agile and fast-paced Ghost of Tsushima, or maybe kind of similar to Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. But still, you have different stances in combat. They have swords, guns, spears. You have different devices, like they pulled out a flamethrower. All right. And this is coming out March 22nd, of course, 2024. Same day as Dragon's Dogma 2. That's rough. I am interested in Rise of the Ronin. I like the setting. I enjoyed what I saw here. Team Ninja seems to be really getting after it in this one. So I think I'm going to go to Rise of the Ronin first and then go to Dragon's Dogma 2, but you really can't go wrong either way. Until Dawn, as expected, was here. It is on the PS5 and PC, 2024. And then we get into the weird part of the show to close things out, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. That is indeed the title for the game, as we had talked about, where it leaked out with D Labs putting that out there. And it's Kojima still being weird. I mean, Sam Bridges is here. You still appear to be delivering packages, which I was kind of hoping Kojima would come up with some wrinkle, although they showed a lot of stuff, so maybe that's a smaller part of this, and then there's a bit more going on, but they showed, like, avalanches happening, so it seems like there's going to be some big environmental events happening. You were in space walking towards the moon, but then they got to some story elements, and while I don't really know what's going on with parts of it, as they showed almost like surgery, or where you're breaking apart like a shell around a person or something. Higgs does appear to be back, and he has a literal electric guitar, and things broke out where he started fighting with a cyborg from Metal Gear. So, once again, Kojima being Kojima. It is 2025. It's kind of a disappointment. I thought this was going to come out this year, but still pushing into next year with a title like Death Stranding 2, that if you picked up the first one and you already trudged through that and then experienced all the crazy ideas Kojima had, I'm expecting him to take it to the next level here. So yeah, they got me on board with it. But then Herman Holst brings in Hideo Kojima into the studio there, and he reveals that he's working on a new action espionage game. Said it's a new intellectual property. He's gonna be working with Sony, and it kind of sounds like they were framing it, or at least talking about it in the sense that it's going to be his answer to Metal Gear, as in, like, you can make your own game, but we can't call it Metal Gear, but it's going to still be kind of that spy action espionage sort of game. And then he kept talking about how it's going to be an interactive title where it's going to blend a video game and a movie, and then they put out a tweet saying it's going to be near lifelike visuals. I'm kind of thinking this might be PlayStation 6. All right, so we're a ways off. It sounded like they're going to go into production for it when Death Stranding 2 wraps up. So Kojima Productions is they're keeping busy. And then they closed out, Sony did, saying that there will be a state of play February 6th for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth specifically, and I do wonder if that's where they officially announce that there will be a demo for the game. And for me, looking up and down the list of games for a state of play, I think this was pretty good. Now, I also want to mention, going into state of play, my expectations are lower for if Sony announces a massive showcase that would normally be 40 to 50 minutes long, because that's where I expect Sony to be represented by their big-time first-party studios like a Naughty Dog, Sony Santa Monica, Sucker Punch, Insomniac, and so on. But in this case, I think they put together a pretty good group of games that were interesting, weird, and coming out soon at times. So I mean, I thought it was a pretty good state of play, definitely above average for what we usually get here. So for the state of play, I'd probably have a solid B grade on it, but that was also the poll question, and we'll see what the community thought about Sony's latest event. Next up, let's talk about more layoffs that have hit the industry, which it kind of feels like I'm getting to a position for Newswave where I have to just add in a section for layoffs every single week, because it's just a constant like run of announcements, which is very, very unfortunate stuff. But in this case, we have a big publisher laying off employees, and then we also have part of the games industry for media laying off employees. So let's start with the publisher. This was noticed online for Twitter, you can see. This is from What Layoff. It says Sega of America will lay off 61 employees on March 8th, 2024, as indicated in a California WARN notice. Now, that apparently is about 10% of their workforce in Sega, for Sega of America. And this, again, wasn't announced by Sega themselves. It was just part of they say here, the California WARN notice. So I don't know if they're going to make that announcement or just make it known to maybe you have to make it known to investors in a filing coming up or something. And this was just like a preliminary thing that got out there early. But yeah, the latest run of layoffs coming out of Sega of America. And then again, to go a bit further than that, this posted up by gamesindustry.biz saying fandom-owned outlet GameSpot has endured a round of layoffs today, as reported by multiple current and now former employees on social media. And gamesindustry.biz did reach out to fandom, but the representative said that the company would not be providing a statement. The way that we kind of know about this are just people on social media saying, hey, I got laid off today from GameSpot and they're looking for a new job. And that's kind of it. So they're sort of piecing it together to figure out how big of a cut this most recent one was. And I say most recent because this happened, about a year and a half ago, that there were other layoffs at GameSpot and fandom. But as I mentioned, I feel like this is going to be a recurring thing throughout 2024, or just layoffs happening with the industry, at least for the first half of the year. It's just, yes, there was a lot of overhiring during the pandemic, and they're kind of trying to constrict back down a bit to be more reasonable. But then for some of these companies, we hear about incredible financial results, and it's like, okay, hold on, what? Like Microsoft being the biggest example recently, hitting a $3 trillion valuation, but have to lay off a ton of people. So it's unfortunate stuff to see, and hopefully the 60 some odd people from Sega of America and then the people from GameSpot are able to find new work elsewhere. But we'll see how this continues. Again, I don't think we're done at all with layoffs in 2024. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Palworld and the player count that they've now revealed, because before, remember, they were talking about just overall sales for Steam. Well, now we have Xbox numbers getting out there, and it's even more ridiculous than we thought. Now, we can see this posted up, this over on the Palworld X account, saying total number of players exceeds 19 million. Been less than 2 weeks since Palworld has released, and they break it down between platforms. Steam, about 12 million copies, and then Xbox, 7 million players. Of course, this went into Game Pass day one as an early access title, so I'm sure the majority of people probably just accessed it through that subscription service. But either way, impressive stuff here, and I'm sure the Palworld Pocket Pair, they're just happy to have that many people playing their game right now, as it is still an ongoing development project, and I think they're still a couple years off from the game coming out with that full 1.0 release, and it appears that Microsoft has decided, hey, we need to get on board with this thing in a hurry, because over on news.xbox.com, they say we're working with Pocket Pair to help provide support for Xbox versions of the game. We're providing support to enable dedicated servers, offering engineering resources to help with the GPU and memory optimization, speeding up the process to make Palworld updates available for players, and working with the team to optimize the title for our platform, which I will say, just optimizing it for even the Xbox will probably also be something that the PC version will be able to take advantage of. Basically, Microsoft getting their vast resources here behind Pocket Pair and Palworld, which makes a ton of sense considering it's only available in terms of consoles on Xbox right now. So yeah, clearly this has been like an incredible launch for the game, something no one really saw coming. So now Microsoft, seeing that, has decided to pivot and go, okay, yes, we're here. Let's get this done. Let's get dedicated servers. Let's have optimization help with some of our engineers. And I think this is great for just Palworld in general, especially people who are enjoying it and playing it now, as even updates and getting the Steam version and the Xbox and Game Pass PC version up to parity would be big, because then they can do a lot of the crossplay initiatives that they're trying to push out there. So hey, obviously Palworld is not slowing down. 19 million players. This, again, I think is going to be one of the biggest stories of 2024 when it's all said and done. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, give the Sony State of Play a grade. Look at that. B is 38%, C at 33%, A at 10%. Somehow A and F were tied, the two extremes, then D at 9%. Yeah, I think a solid B is correct for this presentation, barring some of the weird stuff at the end with Kojima. But hey, you got to give it to him. He certainly knows how to confuse people, bewilder people with some of the stuff that you see on screen with an electric guitar fighting a cyborg with a sword. Can't say he went into the presentation anyway expecting that, so there you go. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Andrew, who says, sounds like I'll be picking up Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League the same way I picked up Avengers, when it's $5 and a day from being delisted. Well, the thing that's funny about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is if you get it physically, it's always online, right? But they are doing an offline mode that will be pushed through a patch and an update, which means if you get it physically, you will then need to update online to be able to play offline. So I'm kind of hoping that they do a second run of the disc later on, just without actually announcing it, but like later on, it just has an up-to-date version of the game with that offline patch, because it just seems weird that down the road, the game might be completely reliant on a server to push an update. Otherwise, it's a coaster. So hopefully they've thought about that a bit, but something tells me just the way that we've had this game presented to us, then delayed, and it's still having issues, that they didn't really think too much or plan too much of this game out based on it being this live service online hybrid style game. It's been messy, certainly, but hey, here's hoping they're able to have that offline mode enabled on the disc someday, because otherwise, yeah, that's one that could be lost to time and become a coaster. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here. Today was the Sony State of Play. Which announcements did you like the most? And then also, what'd you think about Kojima closing out the show with Death Stranding 2, which looks weird, but also maybe his push towards his own original Metal Gear style game? And then also, what about Palworld absolutely taking over 19 million players with 7 million on Xbox side? Do you think it's a good idea for Microsoft to really get behind and push this game? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.